On paper, goes into those 5v5s, Astralis probably feeling favorable.
Well, we're loading through onto the Rift for our third game of the day, our first of the
I know it's been a quick day, but damn.
Going to be Astralis taking on Dusty. Some interesting picks. This is kind of the game to watch, or one of the games we've been excited for today. I think these two
for sure
really matched in capabilities, and also right now in the standings, there's only 1 point between them. If Dusty win this, they exit the first half of the tournament equal to Astralis, which is going to be a really, really big help for them going into that second half. But they have drafted themselves a team which is either capable of Omega snowballing or just
Omega lulling.
Yeah, or going, well, Yasuo spikes in 4 more deaths, and then maybe.
Speaking of that, coming out of the first round robin with a winning record, though, Dusty haven't beaten anyone above them in the standings so far. We talked about that in the pre-game, of course, bring that up, because they have been a team that's been able to punch down, not necessarily punch up. If they were to win this, though, technically they would be even with them. Maybe that's the way that they could break that particular curse. But as we said, from the picks alone, they've got a little bit of work to be doing with that. It's not a clear draft win for either side, but if Dusty do go straight down the middle of this team composition, going to find a couple of issues with it.
Do you know what this game's lacking, other than Gnar? Some furry friends. Our pets.
Right.
There's the transition. I'm going to press a button. Let's see what your pets are doing. No, there we are. NLC, I hope. That's not a pet. That's a laptop.
It's on buttons 2 and 3, I feel.
Oh, okay. I'll close that then, and then I'm going to press that one. And then,
yeah!
Oh, kitty cats.
Oh, I'm a cat person. I like cats.
I like all animals. I'm an animal person.
Yeah.
Recently, I was telling you about this earlier, but recently my my Instagram is just filled with ferrets. Like, I don't know how the algorithm...
How do they get in there? They got into the servers. The ferrets are everywhere.
Been otters for a long time. Otters are my favorite animal. I love them. And then I guess they went, well, what about land otters? And they just gave me ferrets.
Ferrets are land otters confirmed. I hadn't thought about that.
Difference is otters have thumbs. They actually do. They have opposable thumbs.
They also have waterproof fur.
Yeah. And adorable little squeals.
I guess one thing we should forget about, you know, otters are technically apex predators. Oh, we have a lane swap. Right, that's more important. Right, this is actually going to be Yasuo into Gnar on the top side. Now, we saw this from Tatui, outgoing top laner of Singularity. Played that last week even. And reminder, this is something where the Yasuo counters mini Gnar specifically. If you wind wall the boomerang, or the boomerang rather, you don't get to catch that and get the refund on it. So you don't get to continually spam out that Q, which is where a lot of your early game damage and access to proccing those hyper procs comes through. So there are plenty of ways to work around that. Now, what this does mean is that you're left with the Ahri into the Scion. I have played this matchup on time when people have made it here, and it can get a bit rough. You've got a lot of setup and cover. It's probably going to have to flash away from this one.
He's able to dodge away on the charm, so he's able to walk away because of that. So nice stuff there from Curb. Able to hold his spells. I mean, no matter what, he was going to be in a lane where he was just going to be getting harassed constantly. So I guess, you know, might as well make sure that you put your Yasuo in as good a lane as possible.
So actually, I'm just remembering back to the last time I personally played this matchup. I was playing against a Scion who went Prowler's Claw, and I was an AD Ahri, so it's completely not the same as what's happening on the Rift here. It was a weird time. It looks like we're going to have more towards that tank. It's the Grasp. It's not going to be something like Glacial, which you can... Or something like Phase Rush, actually. More of the common era of Scion tends to be. And then, of course, Ahri continuing with that Electrocute. That's good damage, though.
That is very good damage, although Shield comes in from the W, and Curb is going to be able to
imagine how much damage you'd be doing if you had Lethal Tempo right now.
Do you remember once upon a time, quite a few seasons ago, the #1 Ahri in Korea was a bot lane AD Ahri?
Yes! So the guy in NA that did this was a guy called Chubzilla, and I actually chatted to the guy a while ago, because he reached Grandmaster over in NA, and that was actually quite impressive, considering that basically no Ahri above, like, Master really happened at that point, because the champion was much less reliable, and much less people put the time in to really master that champion at that point. Of course, not the case now in current League of Legends. Has been so meta for this season for the first time since really Season 4, maybe a bit to Season 5, and Sencut's picking up this champion, has a sizable CS lead, but you wouldn't see it on the scoreboard because the Yasuo and the Scion are still in the same places.
They are. Kind of missed that, unfortunately, but it's fine.
Like, that's no CS lead. Hang on a second.
Hold up a minute. Stop the presses.
Okay, seriously, observers, is there any way we could switch the Yasuo and the Scion? Because my eyes are like drifting all over the place, going like, hang on, what's happening with the CS leads?
Like a chameleon.
right, okay, so what is this actually going to mean, though? Because actually what this has meant is Dusty have had points where the Sion has been pushing in the Ahri. Now, Ahri is pretty reliable on how they manage to push into these lanes. Typically, Ahri is very happy to get priority and out-trade. We can see the out-trading, but there was a teleport back to lane. You've got the Corrupting Potion on Sion. And of course, all of Sion's abilities are really, really good at wave clearing. Kerberos walking up, getting vision. 2 pink wards actually put down on that bot side. But if you lose both of these, that's not only losing a lot of vision. In terms of early gold, that's really annoying. They're losing both pink wards and bot side. That's actually a fair amount of gold going over to the side of Astralis and lost from Dusty.
Yeah, that was Taxa just... He's very happy with that 60G he just cashed in on, and a normal ward as well. This man's getting more wards than jungle camps as of late.
And that vision was really important because you are aware of what's happening with maybe a Tahm Kench Abyssal Dive going forwards, Ahri roaming out a lane. You can see that Linkas says, as soon as they've lost that vision, Linkas turns up, pushes out that wave. I'm wondering what he's going to do with his vision now, because now he's going to go and try and reclaim some of that vision, which Astralis just cleared out. I think that is the appropriate response. They're going to go straight towards that dragon. You do have level 6s to play around. That Sion ult particularly already kind of annoying to play against, so Astralis kind of seeing the encroaching movements of Dusty towards that area. Just going to leave that one and leave that dragon to go over to Dusty.
Oh, there we go. Dragon is a freebie for Dusty. Picking up the first one. Crab as well and everything. Lucas finishing up his smite as well, so got that upgraded for himself, but buckle up. It's not going to be like our first 2 games. It's going to be a much slower paced game. These teams have a lot of scaling, a lot of late game they want to play towards, or at least a mid game. So at the moment in the early game, they're pretty cool and both quite happy, just chilling.
Because it's so calm and chill, and it doesn't look like we're going to get a play right now. You had a fact about snails earlier. Now, I actually have a fun fact about crabs. Did you know there is a word called carcinogenesis?
No.
It means that evolution tends all crustaceans toward crabs. Multiple beings have actually independently evolved into crabs.
Oh!
Crabs are just apparently the peak form of nature. So maybe that's why we have scuttle crabs on the Rift. It's another great example of this word in action. There you go. Fact from me today.
That's a cool crab. I like. That's a cool crab. That's a cool fact.
Cool crab. Yeah, it is a cool
my
crab.
mind's becoming a crab!
Gives you 100 gold when you kill it.
I mean, that is creepy, because crabs are...
It's really strange.
Aren't they related to scorpions?
I'm not...
Does that mean we're going to get scorpions turning
Scorpion
into
crabs?
Oh, no.
This is like weirdly getting towards like something either Skyrim or Elden Ring, and I'm not sure either is a really great end point at this point. Look, there's another crab-like thing in the top river. They're everywhere.
200 years since humanity died. Nothing but crabs. Crab horses. Crab giraffes. Crab lions.
Well, as we're having that wildlife rift tour around it, we're going to go have the T-tours as the camera pans up towards, again, one of these crustacean-like fellows on the top side. Shelly getting leashed by Astralis, taken by Dusty, though, and I really like how they are using the threat of the Sion into the Yasuo combo very early on to push Astralis out of the areas of the map which they might want to be fighting on. Typically, with this mid-jungle duo of Ahri and Viego, you're expecting early control, and they haven't actually been given it, have Astralis. This would be a bad mistake to make there from Denvox, Nate.
Yeah, but he's going to get himself licked. Throws out the charm, but it only lands onto one. The root follows up, and Denvox is able to jump out Kabar. Able to flash forward, lands the tongue lash, but in comes Linkas with the blind. Den goes out of it, and it is first blood to Linkas.
Oh, just a little too far, and Kiba thinks maybe he's got enough damage with the passive, that acquired taste. Lands the stun, of course, with the Q, but one of the big changes they made with modern era Tahm Kench after those changes was you don't get to keep that acquired taste passive on people that you get the fully stacked Q on. So they couldn't get the Devour afterwards, which is obviously a large amount of damage on that enemy target. Then Voxley manages to play it safely enough, gets away with a bit of a gift there.
Yeah. Free kill for the jungle as well. Linkus going to be feeling very, very happy on that one. Obviously, Denvoxy doesn't have any summoner spells up available, but neither does Kiva. So, obviously, a little bit easier to punish the Seraphine than it is the DK, but you do still have that as a potential window. And it looks like this lane swap is now over. The Yasuo happy with the farm they've been able to get. So, observers, I know we asked you to swap it, but it looks like it's time to swap it.
Well, just in time to really confuse us again. So, Backline going to head back towards this mid lane. Gone for that Zeal first. We see this a lot on Yasuo and Yone because getting something like a Noon Quiver, it's great in terms of attack speed. But of course, with the double value you get on crits, any amount of crit chance is better than having 0 crit chance, of course, because it means you have a chance to crit. And I believe the way that League codes its crits means that it's very important to get... It was back in the day where you used to get 1% crit runes, because that actually gave you significant chance to crit, even though it was, of course, quite low chance for it. But now you have that Backland in a position of relative power with this back, a lot of attack speed, of course has the lethal tempo as well. That's going to be a lot of knockups if you get on top of someone. So see what Backland can do. And what this also means is that this Yasuo has now escaped the early Ahri matchup, which I am a big fan of. I think that Ahri really, really does punish melee champions. You can see, of course, there's like a 30 CS lead for Senkux over Kerberos in that last part of the laning matchup. Someone like a Yasuo can get very much punished by Ahri, but now you're at a point where you can start all-inning, dashing through that wave as Backland is doing right now. And I think Dusty, with this lane swap, have found some advantages over it, even with the CS advantages going to the side of Astralis.
Kiba just able to get out, but the depth charge comes in, and Backland will jump in, catches him out with the last breath, and Kiba goes down to the Yasuo. They're going to keep the pressure up, finding the knock-up, and a double kill for Backland on the Yasuo.
And that is why the vision control is so important. Seeing them fighting over it the entire game so far. Carlson looking to make a play on top side, though.
Yeah, that's the ult, but he is out of time, flashes away. It has been an experience for Kerberos this game, unfortunately. Had to lane versus the Ahri, now comes into the Gnar, who's kind of had a chill laning phase himself, and he goes, well, I'm not really set up for anything here.
So with this, cross-map not really able to be capitalized on for Astralis. It's a Herald down. Of course, remember that Astralis tried to avoid the fight around that Herald, and it has felt like Astralis have had to avoid the fight so far. When they get to 5-on-5s, maybe that'll change, but at the point it is right now, Tahm Kench not tanky enough. You don't have that first item, even as a farming Tahm Kench. And I actually feel like that Devour kind of sends Christberg to his death. He gets popped over the wall, doesn't get to be able to get spat out because Tahm Kench dies. The flash then has to come through, and Christberg sadly goes down as well. So 2 kills to that Yasuo. You know what we're talking about pre-game, just to be loaded onto that rift. Maybe things change if Yasuo gets a large lead. 2 kills, it's getting towards that point. Dusty, through some innovation in the early game, a little bit of imagination, they've got themselves into pretty good point of power now.
Yeah, we were kind of hitting on how Astralis had a very consistent team. Like, it's very clear their conditions. Dusty, it's also clear their conditions, but it's obviously harder to hit those conditions to actually set yourself up. But you now got 2 kills on your Yasuo. He's pretty comfortable with the position
this
right now.
Is a pretty bad mistake.
Then Voxney is able to get a plate and a double root, but I mean, there's not really going to be too much more you can do other than go down here. They're even going to make sure that Keeper doesn't get the assist as he misses the lick. But nice, easy kill picked up for Taxa there on that Viego. And Dusty, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to go for a dive top lane onto Carlson. He's wrong.
I mean, you have a Scion, right? You need the Yasuo there. If the Scion is in that lane, you don't really have any kind of pressure on that Gnar, who's already got those Tabby against an entire AD top side. Now, while Linkus does manage to go into the enemy jungle and steal away some camps, Taxa is trying to do the same on bot side, but Taxa currently 2 levels down, and Linkus fails the smites. Doesn't even get that kind of rubber band experience, trying to prop himself back into that game. And now Taxa gets gifted that kill on bot side, probably because he was so far behind that curve, but isn't getting access to farm to keep himself relevant with the Graves, who's absolutely farming up a mountain.
Yeah, he is starting to worry on that front. If you look at the items as well, see, the Divine Sundra has been finished up, but Linkus got that Eclipse and had that Eclipse for quite a while now, so should be closing in on getting at least a major component towards his next item. Backland hasn't finished up that Immortal Shield Bow, but has obviously sidetracked a little bit into the Zeal, as a lot of Yasuos do. And actually, now they're looking at Taxa. Taxa being denied his walls. Backland making sure that gets picked up, but he has himself the knock-up, misses out, but the death charge is going to be broken by the Heartbreaker, so they can't chase for more. And Senkuk's able to jump away. Cheeky wind wall just to make sure that there wasn't anything coming out. And that is going to be all she wrote as, oh, then Voxney able to dodge away on the time pass on the knockup.
So a swing and a miss on both sides of the map, but what Dusty did was fairly intelligent around this attempted pick onto Taxa, because Linkus obviously steals away part of that jungle, scouts out Viego on that bottom side of the jungle, says, okay, well, he's going to take X amount of time to get towards that top side. We're going to go revisit that. We have the vision to go make that play. Stop Taxa from getting another camp, and then, of course, get to force out the Ahri ultimate at the same time. Again, just making sure that they're controlling where Viego is on the map for that minute of play. See if they can do that a little later into the game and control where Astralis as a whole can go, because Dusty do have pockets of vision to start making plays around. Instead, with their flash just to be back available, obviously a big threat towards Astralis wants to do on the map.
I mean, speaking of those pockets of vision, though, Astralis have found themselves in a pocket, able to move through into the jungle and threaten Den Voxney for the tower dive. They're not feeling it as Sten has come back onto the map. The question for me now is, where is Linkus going to go? He's got this Rift Herald in his pocket. Ideally, I'd actually like to see it go down mid. Just try and funnel into backline as much as possible. Opens up the map massively. You were talking about this vision control as well. It leans into that. Linkus is just perma-invading right now. If you continue to take towers, or you take mid lane tower, you can continue to invade because it's safer to do so. You have more ways out of the jungle. You also just have more safety because you can push the wave up. People are further back, so it's harder to check for you. And Linkus, you know, this really opens up the map for him as well as it does for backline.
And I think the reason that Dusty can do that, if we look back at what's happened in the game, we talked about, oh, you know, X-Champion survived early laning phase. Because Yasuo isn't behind, is very much even, and has those 2 kills, every time there is an engage in the enemy jungle, especially because it's Infernal Rift too, Sion is probably going to be coming through into that enemy jungle, and you're going to get knocked into a Yasuo. That is pretty much instant death. Taxa can't really escape that, or is blowing either flash or ultimate, which he really doesn't want to do. Have to see how Castle can continue to do in this 1v1. I think that's maybe the breaking point for Dusty right now. If Carlson gets control of a side lane and stops Sion being able to answer, maybe Astralis can start forcing up again, a free bit of space for them to work around, because they haven't had that for a little while yet.
Oh, Curb needs to be quite careful.
This is what's happening.
About to gnaw out. Actually, he can get him against the wall if he's lucky. Dodges out on the wallop. And Curb just about able to get away. But if you look at the mid lane, there's a congregation of players. They are looking to set up for a potential something. It might just be slap this Rift Herald down, get control of the mid lane for the Dragon.
Well, look at this ward on the screen right now. Carlson's actually just turned...
Oh, they got him!
Okay.
Out he goes. Easy pickup as the railgun comes out. Gives Taxa a life. Remember, the Ignite is ticking.
Oh,
and he dies. Backlund picks it up. They don't even need the Herald. All they need is Taxa down.
And I wonder if Astralis felt emboldened by thinking, hey, we have the winning side lane matchup. Kerberos doesn't have the teleport. Maybe we can teleport in, but they lost the mini nade. They didn't pull the trigger while the rest of that Rage Bar was enabled, nor did they even have the Devour in place to save Taxa. So now another kill down is onto the jungler, who's already so far down. Dusty picking up a good amount of chained mini victories together. They got a couple of those small wins back to back, and they get that bot lane tower without having to invest that Herald. Now you've opened up both outer turrets on the side lane, which maybe gives you an extra ability to get that mid lane as that last outer tower piece of the set.
I've got long left on this Herald though, so Linkus needs to use it. Even if it's just for the charge, it's going to be super important for them.
I think you can. You just burned the center roll. That's a big thing. Kerberos has teleport now. I think this is as good a time as any to do it. Backlund even has his ultimate up, right? I think now is the time to put that down.
Okay, he's doing it. I was a bit worried he might just forgotten he's got it in his inventory. We've seen a few people do it this season as well. Forget about their Herald.
It happens every so often. Oh, Carlson hasn't seen him.
Oh, Carlson. Carlson, he's caught! There's the last breath. They interrupt the jump out. The collateral damage comes down. Carlson's about to gnaw out, and Backlund says, no, you are not. A flash forward into that Steel Tempest.
And with that pick, they still have the Herald. Linkus gets the warning. Herald. He knows it's going down. Where does he want to place it? He has a couple of choices between mid and top. Backlund happily going up towards that top lane, and Linkus, you got to use it, buddy. It's in mid. Oh, Kiba, no!
Kiba jumping in forward. He's going to catch himself the catch up. A Sten goes golden for the moment. They get the shield on. They get everything to follow up. Teleport's coming down as well as in comes Curve to make sure this charge goes down. Back one takes the top lane meanwhile, but a great charm comes out from Senkox, and Taxa comes in. They get the jump back. Then Boxy throws out the Encore onto 3 members. He loses his life in the meanwhile, though, as Curve has to flash away. Linkus has been slowed. They try to keep the Encore up. Oh, the charm goes wide as the Herald does get the charge off and gets a whole bunch of tower onto that mid mid lane.
Okay, so Dusty, they make a mistake. They don't have Yasuo with their grouped unit. Remember, that's such a huge part of their combo. One Nautilus hook goes into an ultimate, and Backlund follows up and kills someone. If Yasuo isn't there, they lose a large amount of their damage. Astralis, I was a little worried at first, thinking, oh, what the heck is Tahm Kench jumping into this river bush? He's alone, but once they had that information first, I think it is actually the right choice to go in here. Even though it does look like a 1v3. I think this is the right play. When the Yasuo is not there, you can see again what happens when you're looking for this pick. Of course, with the Senna and the Ari's ability to follow up, it gets quite close. But at this point, Dusty are ahead of the curve. They have their solo laners ahead of where they want to be, but with good play from Senkuk's playing the angles well, it very nearly turns into a snowball fight for Astralis nonetheless.
Yeah, almost goes bad, but it doesn't quite. Close but no cigar, as you might say, is Kiba just holding on for now. This tower very, very low, and it's the last bastion of the outer turrets for the side of Astralis. And gold lead right now, 3,000 to Dusty. Then Voxney quite happy just to catch these waves in the mid. He's got the damage to clear out of it with that obviously that double spell from the passive.
Whichever one that is. The high note? Is that the high note? I'm trying to remember. There's the beat drop, there's the high note.
Beat note's the beat drop is the E, which is the snare / slow.
Yeah.
High note is the Q. I can't remember the name of the W off the top of my head.
Well, neither can I, because I have the excuse of I'm a color caster. I just need to know what they do. And
I know what the W does. It shields / heals if it's a double.
Well, what it also allows to do is obviously group up, but again, get so much power in that grouped up unit.
No way!
Oh, gosh. Taxa didn't have the smite, couldn't end up securing that.
He was knocked up.
Backlund walks in, takes more jungle camps. Taxa's managed to pick up a little bit more XP, only the single level behind now, but Dusty doing, again, a really good job of just using that veiled threat and saying, yeah, you could walk up into your own jungle, but what happens if we find that engaged? Continually pushing forwards, taking camps, and considering Dusty are this team, again, that hasn't won a game against a team above them in the standings just yet, this is actually very encouraging for them. This is looking like a controlled game. A couple of mistakes here and there, but it's by no means looking like they're outclassed at all. Looking like they're on par ahead of Astralis in this game.
Look at the base now. Infinity Edge just finished up for Backlund. Be working towards either the likes of a Mortal Reminder or like a Phantom Dancer or something. That is a hook. That is a big hook into the knockup. The last breath comes down. Double knockup as well. Massive encore as Astralis are scattered. Linker splashes forward and just pops. Chrisberg. Dusty can turn their attention towards that Baron with those three.
It's a singular set of picks. It's a Nautilus ultimate which leads into it this time. And 6-0-1 after that fight. Backlund picks up that big, beefy eye edge and goes straight into that enemy team. Astralis, we said that they were kind of falling a little bit behind, playing respectful against Dusty, that they had to play respectfully, but at this point, Dusty make a handful of mistakes. Astralis make a killer one in the heat of the moment in that mid lane, which they've tried so hard to protect. They lose the mid lane out of turret. They lose the Baron. Might lose the Dragon off of this too. See how close Carlson is to finishing it. He's soloing it right now. No, Dragon. He's peeled off of it. He's peeled off of it. Okay.
Decides not worth it. Dusty gonna say it's worth it though, and they're gonna pick up their third Dragon. They're on soul point. Curb looking to blast cone out. Will be able to do so, and oh, Carson's not close enough. He doesn't flip over the wall. Curb gets out for free. Dragons taken, towers taken, Baron taken. It's all about these towers now to finish up.
So Taxa, I kind of understand looking for that hook, but that is very dangerous. You know, I think the idea is not everyone's quite in position yet. If we land this stun, maybe this is the chance to find the pick before the fight really starts. But it's right into that Nautilus. You clump up for it, and Backlund takes that in his stride. Back to the mid lane again, the scene of the crime. What can Astralis do at this point? They've tried a lot of times now, really struggling to make these kills last.
Yeah, they're just buying time though. The encore goes out. Sten has to queue on to the tower to get away. So they do burn a little bit there from Dusty, but the encore on a relatively short cooldown, especially when you go like the likes of this Leandry build. Obviously you get a passive ability haste per item you finished up. You've got the Ceres as well, which packs a fair amount of ability haste itself. So already 1/3 of that ultimate has come back off timer. And Sten, yes, he uses the stopwatch, but he has a Zhonya's.
He actually has built the first item zones, yes. So, and I think that's fair. I think when you're up in this front line, you don't need that much time to buy. You're looking for surviving through until the encore lands, and then surviving until Yasuo follows up on some kind of knockup. I think that's enough to just be alive for a couple of seconds in that front line. Of course, the extra AP does help in terms of bursting out the first target too. Nautilus, of course, an AP heavily scaling champion. Astralis going towards this top lane, trying to defend it, but Sion has the angle. Oh my god!
Charge! You're only going to catch onto one. They're not going to chase for more. No knockups available. Yes, there is a knockup available. Tax Flash is out.
Okay.
And there's the big pop into the wall from Carson, but he doesn't have any follow-up. It was a good ult, but it just wasn't enough. Back up as Backlund is into the middle of everyone, taking them down. Hops up on the trampoline with the blast cone, and Backlund survives. The heal comes in from Den Voxney, and the Baron push continues. Astralis are falling apart at the seams as Dusty are just picking up the tempo. We're only 25 minutes into this game, but there is a 7-0 Yasuo in the base of Astralis, and they are down 3 players.
Oh, we are in for some really quick games today. First two were at a rocket pace, particularly that first one, but coming into the third game of the day, Dusty really not slowing the tempo either. They've been quick to pull the trigger, and even when they haven't, they've been finding advantages outside of that. This Dusty lineup, one that we had so many thoughts on from spring, being this strong team in that second half of that split, being one of our top teams outside of our eventual 2 finalists, continuing to find themselves a string of form at this point. We were worried about them coming into this saying, okay, you know, they haven't really found those results outside of against the lower placed teams. But even in this fight, they just managed to play around their advantages. Link is putting out so much damage on the backline as Backlund goes straight forward into the hearts of Astralis.
I didn't realize how he got into the back of that fight, because I was like, wait, he was right at the back, and then suddenly he's just in the middle of 4. It was because there was the depth charge, and he just bolted off the depth charge.
Around the back.
Beautiful stuff, and Backlund, 7-0-2, shield bow, got himself a chain vest, so I think he's actually going for the...
Probably GA at the end. Looks like it's GA at the end. I think that makes sense.
Could even go...
Could go Death Stance.
That's the one, thank you.
Yeah,
could potentially go Death Stance, although GA, I think, especially when you're diving in solo
but he has
like
the
that.
stopwatch already, same combined gold cost at that point.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I did not even look at that.
So, there is that, but then also you can just sit on stopwatch. And
True.
Also have a Death Stance. Stopwatch, obviously, one of those items where as an AD or a tank champion, you can sit there and just go, well, stopwatch is actually better for the one fight, which might end the game, and feels like you're in that kind of position, heading towards that soul point, a minute on that, and Dusty... They couldn't get that many towers with that. Well, actually, no, I was about to say. No, actually, they could get many towers with that Baron buff. Even without it, they're still crushing down some structures, resetting towards that potential killer fight for the Infernal Soul for Dusty. Astralis really, really struggling to find ways to engage, to get onto their targets. We were a little worried from Champion Select, or at least we were, saying, how are you going to get towards that center? How are you actually going to get towards this backline access? Turns out with a boatload of gold on a Yasuo, tends to help you.
Absolutely. Well, he's actually has finished up that GA, so going for that. Didn't decide to pick up a stopwatch. Instead, played for the team. Watch this, Yasuo's at home. He bought control wards, so he can actually
had some bad experiences with Yasuo's recently, Jake.
Recently, for the last like 10 years, bro, or whenever that champion
getting close to it, actually. 2013, of course, his release date, and playing like he's a 2020 champion in this one.
I went to the 10th birthday where they announced Valorant and all that.
Oh, yeah?
At the XL Centre. The XL Centre in London. Amazing.
Location.
Can't believe this game's still hold, but I can't believe Curb also isn't going down. They just don't do any damage to Astralis. It's looking for potential knock-up onto multiple people. Carlson! That's a big gnaw! The railgun comes down, and Backlund, untouched, unhindered, able to find one. He gets himself another knock-up. Linkus flashes forward and takes down another. Backlund continues to be a nuisance in the middle of everyone as Chrisberg is trying to get a little bit more bonus damage out, but Taxa jumps away. Backlund has the GA, so he's okay to go down here. Passive lifesteal as well. And the bait is being smacked down by the minions. Chrisberg and Sencux have to make a miracle happen if they don't want to lose this game, as the first base tower will fall, and Dusty won't let anybody go away. Get the reset off as Chrisberg quickly swims away in the shadows, but down goes the second tower to the super minions. If that one minion can sort this aggro out, it looks like it's not going to do so. So the tower may stand for now.
Yeah, but it'll go down to a stiff freeze. It'll go down to it. And Astralis managed to find, off the back of yet another Carlson engage, he's found some decent Mega Knowers. It just felt like it's just too little too late against the gold value. They managed to find themselves a good fight.
Yeah.
It's just not enough. Again, you don't even pop the GA of Backlund. If Backlund's alive and Linkus is alive, you are losing that DPS department. Rarely do you see a Graves and Yasuo get this far ahead in the pro games anyway. To this point, you're getting out DPS'd at this point by these short-ranged AD champions who continuing to roll over this. Infernal Soul on their back now. Baron also looking very... Well, it's just gone, hasn't it? It's going to be absolute DPS down. Astralis looking like this is going to be the death knell.
I think the death knell was...
Probably about 5-10 minutes ago.
They're doing that like coffin dance. They've been doing that for the last like 5 minutes.
NLC says goodbye. So we're going to see, of course, what happens in this fight, because this was Astralis kind of brute forcing themselves into this river, but this is the problem you have. You need to be so decisive on your engage, and credit to Astralis, actually they do find a pretty decisive engage. Chrisberg, Carlson getting a large amount of AoE damage off, but again, too little too late, not really able to finish off absolutely everyone they need to.
I mean, Carlson is trying his hardest. We have seen multiple good nars from him. The problem they're having is Dusty just has stopwatches. So they gnar in, everyone jumps forward, throws their stuff at the stunned people, and they just go, ha!
I mean, at the end of it,
that's it.
Backlund has his shield bar pop, doesn't have his GA pop, doesn't have to even like blow his flash at the end of that too. That's back up at this point. And now on 4 items, an extra longsword. He's no longer playing for the team. He has a longsword. Where are your control wards, friend?
You don't need them. What are you taking other than the base? You know where everyone is.
You're taking the tactical advantage of seeing them in their fountain. Line it up, boys. See what they can do with it. Carlson going forward again. Doesn't have the flash this time, though. Dusty, again, seems like they are very much on the precipice sending this one out and finding their first win against one of these upper table teams. Kerberos
quite happy just to slowly chip away at that tower as Carlson's trying to find himself the wallet, but can't quite find it, though, unfortunately. 31 minutes on the clock. Definitely the longest game so far today, but still a very fast-paced game as Dusty have just played this match so well. Backlund jumps in, they cancel his ultimate out, but he is not happy about that. In jumps Kerberos, they're looking for the knockup. Carson's going to find himself caught for the moment, and there are minions to taxi through. Taxa flashes away, they find the charm on with Senkugs, but it's not going to matter as Backlund will take down an inhibitor. The last inhibitor tower will fall. There are only 2 towers left. They flash in. Senkugs goes gold, and Senkugs will survive for just a little bit longer, but his base probably won't. And Sten is a madman with these hooks. Hook after hook is landing as they find themselves back onto Backlund, but he's still got himself the Guardian Angel to keep himself up. Another knock-up coming in. What a gnar! But it means nothing. The base is in an absolute... It's in a state. The Nexus is going to go down. 32 minutes on the clock, and Dusty just clap Astralis.
I think the really sad thing for Astralis